Hello there. My name is Dr. David Frederick Amakobe. I'm a consultant with African Wood Incorporated. African Wood Incorporated is a certified international recruiter. And one of the things that certified international recruiters do is, as soon as they get in touch or get in contact with a foreign educated health professional who wants to go and work overseas, is to provide them with the code such that they can know their rights and their responsibilities, and also the rights and the responsibilities of all the people who are involved in the recruitment process. So today we are going to discuss that. We are going to discuss the health code for ethical international recruitment and employment. You need to be able to go to the Alliance for Ethical International Recruitment Practices and download your copy. We will provide a copy for you, but it's always good to check, to take from the source, so that you know that you are getting the right thing. So, in this discussion, we'll provide you a copy and we'll go section by section. The Healthcare Code for Healthcare Code for Ethical International Recruitment and Employment Practices is established and maintained by the Alliance for Ethical International Recruitment and Practices, which is a division of CGFNS International. And you know, CGFNS International is the body that is charged with the responsibility of ensuring that the qualifications obtained overseas by health professionals is equivalent to the qualifications that are required to practice in the US and Canada and Australia. So that the board, the Alliance Board of Governors that maintains this is headed by Barbara Green, but these members are from the National Association of Indian Nurses of America, the National Association of Nigerian Nurses in North America, the Philippine Nurses Association of North America, the National Council of State Boards of Nursing, the American Association, the American Organization of Nursing Leadership, the American Nurses Association, the American Society for Health Human Resources Administration, the Service Employees International Union, and the Worldwide Health Staff Solutions. So it's a body that has the interests of nurses and the interests of nursing in the US at heart. Obviously, Mukul Bakash, the Director of Alliance for Ethical International Recruitment Practices, and Kelly Cook, who is the head of the program, and Peter, who is the president and executive of CGFNS, make sure that this thing comes together well. So we appreciate them. And you will appreciate them for the work they do, because to be able to ensure that when you are recruited from Kisii or Kilifi and you're going to work in North Dakota, that you go there like you could have been going to work in Kakamega is a big task. But they do it very smoothly, and they ensure that all the recruiters, all the players in the sector, in the ecosystem, play to the rules. So we also expect that as you join the pipeline, that you follow the rules and you will help us maintain the rules, because the rules and requirements and the code is just as good as, is only as good as the people who practice them and who are affected by them. If an entity is not doing what it's supposed to do according to the code and you don't say anything about it, you are contributing and enabling them. So even if you are the aggrieved, your responsibility is to speak up. That's why you should know. And that's why we are talking about it now. The principles of ethical conduct. We will go section by section. We'll start by the preamble. We'll go to the code context. Then we'll start from section A, which is the foreign educated health professional rights and responsibilities. Section B, recruiter and employer accountability. Section C, freedom from discrimination and retaliation. Section D, the right to know. Section E, the right to receive a contract with fair terms and to be given informed consent. Section F, the right to move freely without coercion. Section G, the right to access justice. Section H, the right to freedom of association and collective bargaining. Section I, the right to receive support for clinical and cultural integration. Section J, respect for sending countries. And then the glossary. You can see from the beginning, all these sections cover almost all the entities that play a part in the recruitment, in the international recruitment process. And each entity has responsibilities and has rights. And for now, we will talk about this from the perspective of the foreign educated health professional, and we shall concentrate on foreign educated registered nurses because that's who we are partnering with Northcoast MTC to recruit and place in the United States. So the preamble. The mission of the Alliance for Ethical International Recruitment Practices, Alliance, is to facilitate the adoption and compliance with ethical, responsible, and transparent practices with voluntary standards that aim to ensure that ethical recruitment of foreign educated professionals to the United States. The following health code for ethical international recruitment and employment practices reflects the mutual recognition of stakeholders' interests relevant to the recruitment of foreign educated professionals. It is based on acknowledgement of the rights of individuals to migrate, as well as understanding that legitimate interests and responsibilities of health professionals, source countries, and employers in the destination countries may conflict. You understand? The rights and responsibilities of health professionals, source countries, and employers in destination countries may sometimes conflict. So this code is there to mitigate those conflicts so that everybody knows where they're supposed to be. There was a first edition, but we're dealing with this edition. This edition that was is current is this year's, is March 2023, and that's the current one. That's what we're going to use in the recruitment process. The code acknowledges that the interests of multiple stakeholders conflict. Health professionals, source countries, recruiters, employers. Its target audience are the organizations that recruit and employ foreign educated nurses, third-party recruiting firms, staffing agencies, hospitals, long-term organizations. The code is formatted to address the expectations for recruitment agencies that are certified by the Alliance, with the exception of Section A, which addresses the rights and responsibilities of foreign educated professionals utilizing the recruitment services. The purpose of this code. Recruiters. Recruiters refers to those who contract with foreign educated health professionals in a source country in order to facilitate their migration to the United States and their placement in health care employment. Okay? A recruiter is that person who gets in touch with you in your source country, in this particular case Kenya or Ghana or whatever country you, or whatever African country you may have come from, and somebody contacted you, and with the purpose of ensuring that you migrate to the United States and you are placed in a healthcare employment. So you will realize that there are a lot of entities involved, but the responsibility to ensure ethical recruitment rests with the recruitment agency that contracts with entities like Northcoast, like the training entities. They are in that ecosystem promising and committing to practice ethical recruitment. If a recruiter, whether it be a staffing agency or a placement agency, contracts with another entity, that entity is bound by this understanding by just working with them. So it's always important. Employers refer to those healthcare organizations that employ foreign educated nurses in the United States. Some entities provide both services, like they may be recruiters and employers at the same time. Where recruitment and employment services are shared responsibility for two or more entities, each is responsible for ensuring ethical conduct throughout the process. Okay? Say now, African Wood is responsible for placement of nurses that are recruited in Kenya through Northcoast. But Northcoast is also responsible for ensuring ethical recruitment practices. They must be open, they must be transparent, and they must provide what they promise they're going to provide. Just like when a nurse gets into the program and they are told the terms and conditions and they sign the contract, they are expected to abide by the contract and abide by the terms of this health code. Recruiters and employers certified by the Alliance voluntarily agree to comply with 10 guiding principles and the specific standards agreed upon by the stakeholder to advance these principles. Certification also implies full cooperation with the monitoring system developed by the Alliance body of governors and has been operating since 2009. In addition, certified recruiters and employers must comply with the law of any foreign country in which they operate, whether through a permanent office or an agency relationship or an occasional basis, and comply with the laws of the United States, including relevant employment and immigration laws. So, when you're doing international recruitment, you go through several jurisdictions, and the laws of those jurisdictions rule. You cannot operate with the laws of the United States in Kenya. The Kenyan laws operate in Kenya, and the American laws operate in the US. We must understand that we have to abide by all these regulations to be able to be compliant with the CGFNS Alliance Code. And you will see this code, this seal a lot. If you see this seal, it means that the organization is certified. So you may see this seal on the Northcoast website because we are working with them. And as you saw here, when recruitment and employment services are shared responsibility of 2 or more entities, each is responsible for ensuring that ethical conduct throughout the process. So Northcoast is by association to African Wood, it's responsible for ethical conduct, so they can be able to use the seal. Okay, the biggest one, the rights and responsibilities of foreign educated health professionals, in this case, foreign educated nurses. Foreign educated health professionals shall have all the same rights and responsibilities as their U.S. counterparts and are responsible for fulfilling obligations to the recruiter and or employer. They also have the same right to be treated and the responsibility to act ethically and professionally. This means a lot. That you have the same rights and responsibilities as your U.S. counterparts at the workplace in the U.S., the facility where you're placed. You are also expected to fulfill all obligations to the recruiter, which includes Northcoast MTC. If you had any obligations with Northcoast MTC, you are expected to fulfill them. That's where ethics comes in. Rights come with the responsibilities and obligations. And if you have a contract to stay with an employer a certain period of time, you are expected to abide by it. If there are terms and conditions that allow you not to stay, you are expected to abide by it. Certified employers and recruiters shall inform the foreign educated nurses of their rights, including but not limited to the following. So, the reason why this video is required viewing is for you to be able to know your rights and responsibilities. You have the right to ask questions about your employment contract and consult an attorney before you sign it. Right? The recruitment contract was put out by Northcoast, and we appreciated the fact that nurses being recruited were not just signing without going home and talking about it with their families, with their lawyers, with their friends, so that they know what they're signing, what they're getting into. Because it's a serious contract. It's a commitment for you to be able to go through the process in Kenya and be able to migrate and work here, work in the United States. So you have the right to ask questions about your employment contract and the right to consult an attorney before you sign it. You have the right to have a full executed copy of the contract. No one should ask you to sign a contract and then they don't give you a copy. You have the right to be treated in a fair and legal manner in accordance with all the applicable U.S. employment laws, including anti-harassment and discrimination laws and regulations. You have the right to discuss wages and benefits with other health professionals. There is no gag order that says you cannot discuss your pay with your other, because sunshine is the best disinfectant. If people know how much money everybody is being paid, nobody can be underpaid because they are foreign. If you don't discuss it, you never know. So you are free to discuss wages and benefits with other health professionals. You have the right to remain in custody of all your immigration-related paperwork and documentation, passports, certifications, permits, visas, all official documentation. No employer, no recruiter, no entity along the way in the recruitment path is allowed to deny you custody of all your immigration-related paperwork. You should be able to move freely, and you should be able to, therefore, have your papers. You have the right to have contract disputes resolved in the jurisdiction in which the foreign educated professional works, or where the employer is headquartered. Such duties shall be specified in the contract. Meaning, you should check in the contract to see where any dispute in the resolution in the contract can be resolved. Is it at in the state where the recruiter is located, or is it where you work? It should be specified. In our contracts, we are based in Delaware, and Delaware is a very business-friendly state, so we draft our contracts to be resolved at Wilmington in court there. So take that note and make sure that you know. If you're coming back, if you're coming to the United States for the first time, maybe you may not want to change the state because you may be placed in a facility in one state, and then you move from that state and go to another. But if you are still under contract with African Wood or our associated facilities, then you will need to keep make sure that you can be able to go to court in Wilmington. You have the right to humane and professional treatment. Physical abuse or discipline, the threat of physical abuse, sexual or other harassment, verbal abuse, or other forms of is prohibited. I like to repeat that very slowly, very, very carefully, so that you know. As a foreign educated nurse, registered nurse, coming to work in the United States, you have a right to humane and professional treatment. Physical abuse or discipline, the threat of physical abuse, sexual or other harassment, and verbal abuse, or other forms of intimidation are prohibited. Nobody should be able or even think about doing that. You have the right to inform the recruiter or employer of any potential violation of this code by any agent of the recruiter without fear of penalty or retribution. You shall not be penalized for reporting potential violations to African Wood or the employer where you go, where you're placed, and nobody should penalize you for that. Okay, so that is section A, and that is a very important section for your rights and responsibilities. Now we go to section B, and no, we still haven't finished section A. You have the right, the responsibility to read all contracts completely and make a reasonable effort to ensure understanding of all provisions, including all rights and responsibilities prior to signing. You have the responsibility to enter into agreements in good faith and fulfill agreed upon contract obligations in exchange for the employer's financial investment and consideration, including credentialing support, visa sponsorship, relocation support, transition support, and employment compensation. The responsibility to be faithful and forthright with recruiters and employers about academic degrees and work experience, areas of professional expertise, and immigration history. You have the responsibility to not provide any false or misleading information or omit to provide any material information in any written or verbal communication with recruiters and employers. You have the responsibility to promptly inform the recruiter and the employer if additional cultural or clinical training is required to safely and effectively perform all employment-related responsibilities, and to disclose any factor that could impede your ability to fulfill your contractual obligations or professional responsibilities. If you need help, ask for it. That's the point. Whether cultural or clinical. Changing from one country to another is hard. Nursing is about dealing with people. If you need help with the culture or with the clinical, just talk to us. We shall provide it. We have walked this road before. We know what to do. Just speak up. You have the responsibility to reimburse the employer for expenses reasonably incurred on their behalf on your behalf in the event of early termination of an assignment or failure to commence an assignment without cause as defined by the contract. Okay, if you don't show up at work, if you show up at work or you show up and then you decide that you have another job offer, you must tell the new employer that they will need to pay a penalty to the place where you to place. Basically, communicate, and be transparent. Nobody's forcing you to do anything, but everybody expects you to be ethical, to be forthright, to say exactly what you mean, and to seek what you want. You may not always get it, but at least people know your position. Don't throw curveballs to people. It becomes bad. Don't edit yourself and regret later. Just be open, be transparent, be forthright, and know that people are in this recruitment business, are expending resources on you, spending time, and they expect you to do certain things so that they can produce value. And you are in the chain also to produce value for yourself and for others. That understanding is that everybody, every entity, from the training entities, from the recruitment to the recruitment agencies, to placement agencies, to the employers, they are in this to be able to produce value for their customers so they get paid. And they are working together because their interests coincide. And when you come in, your interests should coincide with all of them. At any one time, your interests don't coincide. Be open. Talk about it. Maybe somebody can adjust, or maybe you can agree to part amicably. But don't just keep quiet and not show up. So, you have the responsibility to provide timely notice and make a good faith effort to seek resolution of disagreements or misunderstanding with recruiters and employers. You have the responsibility to sign up with only one employer or agency at a time unless released or discharged from a previous contractual obligation. You have the responsibility to comply with all laws and regulations governing credentialing, licensing, immigration, and professional practice. You need to keep your licenses live. Plain, simple, straightforward. You need to, if you had any obligations with your former employer, you need to make good on it or make arrangements make good on it. As ethical international recruiters, we are not coming to Kenya or Ghana or any African country to take nurses who were trained on condition of them working for the government or working for their employers without them meeting the obligations. We are not here to deplete the resources of source countries. We are here as partners with them, with you, to ensure that you provide your services at the best place possible, but also that we do not leave the source countries in a bind. You have the responsibility to make reasonable effort to meet client organization expectations and represent the employer or recruiter firm in a professional manner. Okay, so we have seen your rights as a foreign educated nurse and your responsibilities. Okay, now we go to section B. The recruiter and the employer accountability. Foreign educated health professionals shall have the right to be recruited for work in the United States under a system that holds the employer accountable for providing a fair, transparent recruiting process and a work experience that aligns with the representation made. Certified employers and recruiters are acknowledge that. Just before we go where what we acknowledge is that certified recruiters will only tell you the truth as it is. We will not promise more, we will not tell you less. We will tell you as it is and promise as it is. That's our promise. When recruitment and employment services are the shared responsibility of two or more entities, each will be responsible for ensuring ethical conduct throughout the process. Like now, in our process, we have Northcoast MTC recruiting in Kenya, making sure that the training is done, making sure that the CGFNS accounts are open, training is done, NCLES is taken and passed. In that process, we work together with Northcoast to ensure that everything is being conducted ethically. Recruiters and employers certified by the Alliance shall be accountable under the Alliance Code for actions of their subcontractors. Okay? In this particular case, Northcoast is taken as a subcontractor of African Wood Incorporated as a recruitment and placement agents in the United States. We are the recruiters. We are the ones who asked and got into agreement with Northcoast that they can be able to reach out to you, prepare you, guide you until you are ready to be placed in the United States. And every time you see African Wood sitting through your classes, we're just making sure that we are telling you what you need to know, and we are not promising anything we cannot do. You are all nurses, you know, you work in hospitals, you've dealt with administrators, those people who apparently get in the way of you doing your work, clinical work. But it's important that administrators ensure that the hospital or the facility or the process is working well within the law. That's what we do. We make sure, like you see the code, recruiters and employers certified by the Alliance shall be accountable under the code for actions of their subcontractors. But we're glad Northcoast is a very professional, very compliant organization, and we can endorse them. We know that they're doing a good job, and we will ensure that we continue working with them to make sure that they remain ethical, so that your process, your experience is within the law, is compliant and smooth. Painless. All employer agreements shall incorporate all rights, duties, and obligations of the parties and describe the nature of the offered employment with as much specificity as possible, including term. Remember that you must have the term of the contract. We do 2 years or 3 years. You must have the pay, okay, per hour. You must have the location and the duration of assignment as soon as the information is available. The location and duration of the assignment may come a little later, because as you prepare, as you get recruited, go through the process in Northcoast, go take the exam, it's going to take between 10 to 18 months. By that time, the employment situation or the employment situation with the employer would have changed. So where we thought we would place you, it could be different. You have seen how we went through the COVID pandemic. Nobody in 2019 early would forecast the pandemic. So any contract that were issued at that time and was specified to go a certain way, they didn't go that way. So this information will be available as soon as the information is known. Employment details, including location, facilities, specialty unit, work schedule, regular hourly pay that are not listed in the employment contract may be incorporated into as an assignment confirmation document that is separate from but as associated with the employment contract. That tells you that after you read the contract may be vague a little about the location, about the duration of the assignment, but the term of the contract, the base pay cannot be. So suppose we say, okay, we give you a contract at $35 an hour. That may not be the amount of money you get because you could go to some other place and they're offering higher, but we cannot go lower than we promised. Instances where foreign educated health professionals arrive in the U.S. without a determined location or workplace should be rare. If such employment details are not known prior to arrival, they must be informed and given written consent. This is going to be rare. African doesn't do it. When you get into a plane at the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport or Mombasa International, you will know where you're going. Material changes to the nature of the offered employment or to the agreement shall be in writing and mutually agreed. That means we cannot enter into agreement with you and then just go change the agreement. It doesn't work that way. All employment contracts shall mutually provide for a period to cure any. We provide 30 days. Okay? We provide 30 days. We provide that 30 days for you after you sign. You can go back and say, no, I signed, by the way, and I don't feel like it. Okay, good. So we give you a contract. You can go home with it, talk to your lawyer, talk to several people. After you are certified, then you sign it. When you bring it, you have 30 days to go back on it. That's okay, fine. It makes sure that when the contract firms up, you are good with it for 3 years or 2 years. All right. There we go. Now we are freedom from discrimination and retaliation. Okay? The foreign educated health professional shall have the right to a recruitment and employment experience free of discrimination and retaliation. Certified employers and recruiters shall provide compensation for work performed by the foreign educated health professional based on performance-related criteria, including education, experience both in the U.S. and comparable experience in the source countries, tenure, level of practice, and relevant services. Compensation, length of contract, or other breaches shall not be based on national origin or gender. As soon as you reach the United States, where you came from doesn't matter. What matters is that you are here and you are like everybody else. And that your salary shall only be based on your education, on your experience, both here and abroad, your tenure, your level of practice, and relevant skills you got. The employer and the recruiter are expected to inform the foreign educated health professionals of applicable prevailing wages. You are coming out from Kenya, you don't know what the wages here. If you base your wage contract about the Kenyan salaries, you may find yourself there is the parity too, so you cannot really base your pay on your last pay. So the recruiters and the employers are supposed to give you the prevailing rates. Whereas in the United States, pay the foreign educated in accordance with the visa regulations and wage hour laws in accordance with the contract. Okay? Employers are supposed to practice equitable treatment in all assignments and in all our work, free from discrimination and retaliation. Okay, we are at section D, the right to know. Foreign educated health professionals shall have the right to be informed about the recruitment process and their rights under the U.S. law in a language they understand. Fortunately, we are from Kenya, we understand English, so this is good. But if you really don't understand English and you understand Kiswahili, you should ask us. We will provide the translation. Certified employers and recruiters shall provide a copy of this code to foreign educated nurses when a contract is offered to the foreign educated health professional. As when we started this video, I told you to download the code from the Alliance for Ethical International Recruitment and Practices website, but we will attach it to your contracts too and incorporate it in the contract too, so that you cannot miss it. It's there for you. Provide sufficient opportunity for the foreign educated applicant to review contract before signing. We say that. Ensure all employment contract agreements allow 30 days from presentation of contract for the foreign educated nurse to seek counsel on the contents and provision thereof. Okay. As soon as you've been given the contract, you have 30 days. Even after you sign it, you have 30 days to look around again. Make sure that you are signing the right thing. Because what is 30 days relative to 36 months? You have 1 month so that you can firm up and know that you're going to stay in that place for 36 months. Okay. Ensure all employment agreements provide for a period of at least 7 days after signing, during which the nurse may rescind the employment contract without penalty. 7. The code says 7, we provide 30. That's good. You have 30 days. Not use false or misleading information in any form of communication. We will not tell you rosy stories. We will tell you as it is. In recruitment advertising clearly indicate the specific occupation level for the foreign educated nurse, either RN, LPN, or nursing assistant. We do not recruit nursing assistants, we do not recruit LPNs, we only recruit registered nurses or BSNs. And include the minimum education and okay, here is, that's clear. You must be trained as an RN, licensed, have experience, at least 2 years experience, and yeah, either you have a diploma in nursing or you have a BSN in nursing. So if you don't have those, we may not be talking. Explain in writing the steps involved in the migration and licensing process and keep the foreign educated applicant informed in writing about the process throughout the process and upon applicant's request. Okay? We work continuously to ensure that this is true, that you know the steps from the time you either fill a form on the website on Northcoast or African Wood, that or as soon as you fill on the African Wood contract, we automatically send you a letter explaining the process, and we send you a copy of this code. Just make sure that you have them. And also, when you sign into ELIM, we shall require that you go through this video and certify that you listen to it and read the code, so that when you go through the process, you know what to expect. Also, most people come and say, how long is it going to take? And we say, somewhere between 12 months, 24 months. which is all right, because there will be delays. There will be delays in you getting your transcripts, or you, first of all, signing up for CGFNS, signing up for Pearson View, signing up for the set. There will be delays in you sending out the transcript to CGFNS. There will be delays in you taking the exam. There will be delays in you maybe not passing the exam for the first time. There will be delays. So we cannot tell you that this process is going to take 6 months. It's not going to work. It can't work. It's going to work. However much you try, it's not possible. So we give you 18 to 24 months, but we know maybe a few people do it in 12 months, but that's fine. But we don't want to rush you. Specify the nature of employment, either direct by household or nursing, or a staffing agency, by staffing agency. We as African Wood are not a staffing agency. We don't recruit people. We don't put them on, we don't put the applicants on our payroll. We are given orders by the facilities to go seek out nurses. We bring them and they become the employees of the facilities. Okay, so it's direct employment for us. Identify the geographical locations of the future work site at the time of recruitment, if such information is available. If third-party recruiters and staffing agencies have not yet determined the future, this should be fully and clearly disclosed to the foreign. Yeah, African Wood, we are very upfront. We cannot place you in a location or in a facility before you pass your exam. And since it takes so long, we cannot tell you where you are going to take the exam. But we can assure you that your license will be based in Delaware, and Delaware is a compact state, so you can work in a lot more states. We are at